Hey everybody, and welcome back to Investment Honey, where we talk about various crypto projects. Before we begin, as always, I am not your financial advisor, and we never provide investment advice on the channel ever. So with that being said, if you're somebody new, thank you so much for supporting the channel, supporting the series, and for joining us here in the Dexscreener series. And if you're somebody that has been here, from the beginning or joined somewhere along the way, certainly appreciate you being here and continuing to support the series. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please consider subscribing to the channels. And that's all the channels: YouTube, Telegram, the Crimson's Calls channel, on X. We're on X as well. So the channel here on YouTube, it is growing, steadily by the day. So we appreciate you sharing the channel, sharing the series, with your friends, anybody that you think, may be able to get some value, out of the channel as well, and what we're doing here through the Dexscreener series. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go into some review. Hold on, I got to get a drink real quick. All right, so with that being said, so we're going to start out here with the official, Super Bowl meme token. So we can see we're looking at a beautiful chart, actually, and we're sitting here at, it says right here 1 million, but could be a little bit different. So yeah, we're sitting at 1 million. So let's look at the alerts real quick. As far as the alerts are concerned, we can see both of these were triggered, right? This one was triggered here, touching over 530K, and this one was triggered here, going under 450K, so we obviously found this one at 513, on the market cap. We've talked about this one a couple of times, since this one was found through the Dexscreener platform, and we can see, obviously they've made some move. Now, keep in mind, what have I said, in prior videos in regards to this? I've said that, when you are talking about a token, where they are several days away, from the actual event, and this is basically around the whole conversation about event tokens, that, we can expect that they're going to go ahead and get some initial, catalyst, because on every launch, you always get that initial pump, right? So, but as I've said before, when these tokens tend to go up, they also tend to come back down. And when they come back down, it's anybody's guess, as to whether they're going to kind of just stay flatline or whether they're actually going to see another run on their chart, especially as you get a little bit closer, to the actual event. So with this one, we can see that run up, right here. We can see the retracement, and then they just kind of sit here, kind of flatline, but they're still getting some activity, right? And then it sees, another little, bump here, and then a big bump, right here, and then comes down. Now, we always know that when you see a peak on a chart, whenever they get like a massive, boost, and that's really on any chart, you're always going to come down. And why? Because there's always people that are down here in these areas that haven't sold anything, or maybe they still got tokens, and they're simply just waiting for people to go ahead and buy, so that obviously those buys increase the value of their bags, and then they go ahead and they sell. Either they dump, the whole bags, or they go ahead and they, sell strategically, selling maybe 5–10% at a time, so that they can go ahead and mitigate, any kind of losses, obviously on the way down, should they find that, after that peak that it just never recovers, so yeah, those are some different strategies in terms of how people go ahead and sell. But with that being said, we are still 4 days out, from the Super Bowl, so, and I've said you're going to see, different iterations, of the Super Bowl tokens. You'll see like half bowl tokens. You'll see different things. Obviously the teams representing or being represented in the Super Bowl, you'll see probably tokens around that, probably the day of or the day before. It's probably something that can be expected, if no tokens like that haven't already been deployed. So just keep that in mind in terms of, how these event tokens, do kind of work. Now, considering it's still sitting around 1 million right now, do I think that it could move a bit more on this chart? It's 50-50, because like I've said, when you look at these charts, you can see it's already had a couple of runs. Here's one, here's one. You can't keep asking a chart to keep retracing and then keep running, because that just becomes harder and harder to do once you've already got 2 or 3 good runs out of a chart. So I don't know personally whether I really feel like this is going to continue to run. It really just depends on the push, from the team, from the community, the support that's there. You're still getting some buys here, but I tend to think that it's really anybody's guess. 50-50 is where I would place it on this, as far as whether it would continue to move even a day before, the Super Bowl. Do I think it's going to move the day of the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. I do not. I think that when it comes to event tokens, the best runs are going to come as you're leading up to the event. and typically not ever on the day of the event. I think New Year's is probably one of your exceptions to that, but most of these event tokens, the run-up is typically going to come, as you're getting close to the event, not the day of. And this is something that I had to learn as well as a new person to trading, that there's so much hype that people put on these event tokens as you get closer to the event. And then there's people will say in the chats, like, hey, can't wait, for the day of. And it's like, on the day of, you're expecting some massive catalyst and it never comes. So, and at that point, when you get to the day of, what happens? A lot of people just go ahead and sell off their tokens, so keep that in mind. If you're somebody that likes these event oriented tokens, you're probably going to see the best gains as you're leading up to it, and hardly ever on the day of event. I don't care how bullish the community is. Typically, that's not the norm. The norm is not that you would see the push on the day of. The norm is you see the most buy pressure and the most activity leading up to it. So just something to keep in mind, as you're considering looking at these event-oriented tokens. All right, so I'm not going to go ahead and do anything with the alerts, right now on this. I mean, if I was, you guys have seen me do this maybe once or twice before, where I'll come in and I'll update the market cap, basically saying that whatever the market cap is, and then update it in the notes, and then I'll go ahead and set a new trigger, for it. But do I see this retracing, back down to this 450 area, in the next couple of days? I'm not highly confident that it's going to do that. Do I think there's going to be some retracement? Absolutely. But once the support stops on this one, I think it's going to drop like a rock. But outside of that, could it make some more moves? Maybe, like I said before. But do I think it's going to hit, new all-time highs? I mean, I'm not overly confident that it's going to, this is going to move to like a $2 or $3 million market cap. Not saying that it can't happen, but you're going to have more tokens that are going to start deploying as we get closer and closer, to the Super Bowl, that this token will be competing against. So even though right now it's moved, I think you're going to have other tokens, where we know that with brand new stuff, that's where you're going to see more of those, spikes on the charts, the buy pressure, new communities forming and talking about that. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents as far as that's concerned. We're going to move on from this one since I've gone ahead and, given you really a lot of thoughts on that. Here we're talking about sovereign wealth funds. We took a look at this one yesterday. So the chart, I can show you right away. This, I don't really see this one recovering. I think yesterday when I mentioned this one, I said that if it hit 30, yeah, I said if it hit 35, I thought it was toast. Okay. So, but what did happen, was that this went to roughly around 90 something K. Let me see, we can see here, so about 95K. And, after that, it started to go ahead and really retrace. There was some buy pressure that still came back to it, but ultimately, I think this one's done, unless there's some, catalyst that comes back to this one. But, people tend to buy charts. And so when you're looking at a chart where you can see the pattern is that it's it's coming down, and we're looking at lower lows, on this one. It's hard to go ahead and do TA, on, low caps, but either way, you can pay attention to some patterns on a chart. And for the most part, kind of know what people do in terms of just, following the patterns that you've seen in charts when you've taken a look at enough of them. So for this one, I don't really see this one returning. You're not seeing anything going on here on the 5 minute. You're in the minus, 30s in the 1 hour, the minus 60s, in the 6 hour. When you start to go ahead and see stuff like this, unless you get a catalyst coming back to the chart, it's not doing anything. It's just not going to come back. So, I think maybe there's some news catalysts, that could go ahead and bring some life back to this chart. Maybe that might go ahead and bring some life in terms of buy pressure back to it. But for right now, I would expect that even sitting here at 18K, it's on that here, but I think it's like 20K here. I think this is actually going to fall even further, honestly. And as it continues to fall, you'll get more people that will start to sell off their bags thinking that, hey, people are basically abandoning this particular token. So that's what I think is coming, for that one. But it is good to see, and I took a screenshot yesterday that this did, see some buy pressure, a really, really nice buy pressure come back into the chart. But essentially, people that were waiting for that to happen basically sold it down. Some buys came back and they sold it down any further to obviously what we're looking at today as far as this chart, as far as what's represented here on the chart right now. So I'm going to close this one out. And then with love, you can see this is what happened last night. It basically, retraced, to basically almost under 200K. Okay. And then we can see, looking at the chart as it is currently right now, that it did come back up. I think it was at one point sitting, it was over 450K. and then it's retraced, so I think this one's still trying to fight, but this one obviously is a Valentine's oriented token, right? And we are still several days out from Valentine's Day. So this right now, looking at this chart, to me is a really dangerous area, for anybody to decide to put any kind of money into it, so I mean, if it was me deciding to jump into this, I'd go very small, just because I think that there's probably going to be further retracement on the chart, and my thinking would be that I'd want to get in lower entries, and then maybe as you get a little closer to Valentine's Day, maybe it heads back up, but even then, given where the chart is right now, I think there's going to be many other fresher tokens that are going to come out where this isn't even going to be able to compete in the space. You're just going to have, because I mean, what do we know about the space? We know that people's attention span as far as crypto is concerned, it's very short. So they're looking to go, and I've said this before, unless you're talking about narrative, go where the volume is, so if you know that you've got volume coming into newer tokens and you've done all, you've done all the checks, and you know that it's unlikely that it's going to go ahead and scam you, then what do? You're going to go ahead and move into the fresher token. So something like this, where they've already been alive, for some days, and this is what the chart looks like, where you're looking at, a lot of retracement, even though you're still getting some buys, but I think the sell pressure is probably going to win out, unless there's a catalyst to go ahead and really move this back out of this area. And if the chart starts to look a little bit fresher, if we start to go ahead and see that we can keep buys kind of in this area, then I think this has a chance to compete with anything fresh that's coming out. But right now, the chart doesn't look that great. It looks kind of like, one of those charts where you're really not sure if you want to dip your feet into the pond on this one, right? And if you do, you're not going heavy, you're going light, so I mean, that's my thoughts, on this one. But if it was me and I was deciding to go ahead and take a chance on it, again, I don't think my buy would be more than like, $5 or $10, honestly, because I think that it's going to retrace even further, where if I was going to go ahead and put anything larger than that, it would be at a lower level. And that's assuming that I thought that it still had a chance to come back up. So, but yeah, on this one, I'm not so sure, but I did want to at least show you, that yesterday, this is where it retraced to. And then obviously, even from those lower levels, I mean, it essentially almost did like a 2x, at the peak here, so from the lower levels that I showed you in the screenshot. So yeah. All right. So we're going to close this one out. And then Rue, this is one. So I know that this is not one we talked about before, getting more into the discovery portion, but, and I'll tell you what, since this is one we haven't talked about before, I didn't arrange this properly, in the tab. I'm going to go ahead and just move on over to Fusk. And this one should have been over here too. So Fusk, we've talked about this one a long time ago, right? So if we go back, let me see here. Let me find it in the alerts. So in my alerts, this one would have been a while ago. So we're talking like 2 months ago, right? So if we go back over here, oops. So obviously this was a while back. But the reason why I wanted to show you this is because even though the chart, is bottomed out, right? And this is one I think that when we talked about originally, found it at a real low market cap. And then I think this one did like a 10x. And then obviously, it went ahead and it died off. But the reason why I kept it in my alerts collection is because I mentioned this to you guys before. There's a chance that if there is life that comes back to the token, that could be an opportunity. So, and I've told you guys that you can keep the alerts in your collection forever. I mean, as long as you go ahead and sign in, and you're signed in, and remember the alerts sync from your device to whatever else you have, from your laptop, to your phones. I mean, it keeps the alerts in there until you decide to get rid of it. So I kept this one, and the reason why I did was strategically. I wanted to see if it would trigger, at the bottom levels, if more activity came back to this chart. So obviously that's exactly what happened. It triggered for me yesterday, and we could see there was activity. There were buys that were coming back into the charts. This is where Dexscreener is so incredibly useful, because if it weren't for Dexscreener, you wouldn't be checking back on a dead chart every day. You wouldn't be doing it. Like, nobody does that. Okay, there aren't enough hours in the day to go ahead and do something like that. So the reason, why I say that the alerts, again, is just so useful, is that if you say at the bottom, here, I only want to see the chart move like, I don't know, 2 or 3K in volume, and you start to see a little mini candle forming, you look at the chart, look at the community, and sometimes you don't even have to look at the community, because we already know that obviously this had a community before. So maybe that might not be your first inclination, but either way, you know that there's activity coming, so what do? Even if you go ahead and you put in a very small amount, and again, on this channel, we never encourage you to invest, but obviously, we know you're engaging, with crypto related content, so you're probably going to, participate anyway. But the reality is, let's say it only moves 2 or 3K. That's still, you're still basically at the bottom. So even if you put in a very meager amount of funds, if it does a 2x is still a 2x. And at the bottom of the chart, it doesn't take much to move the chart to get to a 2x, which is why I like to monitor some of these dead tokens, because like I said, and when I set the alert's only going to be set for it's going to be a range of maybe 3 to 5,000, in terms of where I want to see or get alerted to any kind of movement on that chart. Because what do I know at that point? If there's $3,000 to $5,000 coming in terms of volume and buys on a chart at the bottom, more than likely, or no, I can't say more than likely, but there is a chance. There's a chance that the other people are also monitoring that activity, and that could mean an opportunity is forming, for that particular token. So, I get it. Checking out dead charts, isn't really, all that, all that appealing, but again, it does provide an opportunity. Especially, when you're looking at stuff, where Elon's name is attached to it, you never know when those tokens could start to go ahead and move again. And here's what we know. He's going to be in this administration, for obviously the next 4 years, unless something catastrophic happens, maybe relationally, so when I'm talking about catastrophe, I'm talking about the relationship between, him and Trump, where maybe, something happens where he's no longer, in that administration. But I don't know, again, that's just all speculative stuff, so I'm just guessing here, putting examples out. But at the end of the day, I don't think, you want to fade an Elon narrative. I don't think you want to fade a Trump narrative, when it comes to stuff like this. So it does make sense to go and watch some of these, bottoms, on the tokens, because in this case, when you look here, there was activity. And you can see it moved, and then obviously it came back down, and now it's just kind of dead again. Now, does it mean that it can't do that again? It could actually. We're still sitting above 100K on the market cap, which means you got a boatload of people that still have tokens in this particular token. So, and why? Well, you probably got people that are still in, in the minus, and they're waiting for buy pressure to return, which is why, in these, kind of scenarios where you don't want to go crazy putting in, a bunch of money, because there are people that are still in loss, and they just decided not to go ahead and sell their tokens because maybe the loss was more than 50 or 60%. So it didn't make any sense. You're already in loss, and you're just waiting for an opportunity or chance to, see somebody, continue to buy into the token, which obviously mitigates your loss to the point where maybe you're able to break even. Maybe you're able to go ahead and do better than that, depending on how much buy pressure comes back to the chart. So, and this one, obviously, it's been sitting here for what? For months, or for at least over 30 days, right? And I've said that when you monitor this stuff, you get sometimes these charts will sit there for months, okay, 6, 7, 8 months, and then all of a sudden life returns to them, right? Well, what did we talk about? It was maybe about a week ago, the Black History Month token that was literally a flat line chart, and then it went crazy. All right, so now it's retraced all the way back down, but it went nuts. And if you were somebody that set an alert for a token like that, it would have been a great opportunity, right? So again, don't fade, setting alerts, for some of these tokens, that are sitting at the bottom, because again, they can move. You just never know when it's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close this out. All right, so here, looking at United States Doge services, obviously this one, I saw this one at it was under 200K. And, by a decent team, so, but they didn't have the Telegram open, at the time, when I saw it, they just alerted everybody that, that this was their token. So, and I've been just watching it, and, I've been seeing, they had this major spike, right here where it took it to, just under 500K. Then obviously they got to 500K, and then you can see the retracement. So, and because, I'm considering, what the market looks like, and the market's still, in the red zone, a lot of tokens are struggling to really, do what they would typically do in a better market, right? And even the good teams are struggling. right? So because there was one that I showed you guys some days ago that I posted on the main channel, and they launched, and typically they would have kind of shot just through the roof, but they kind of just hung in there, and then they retraced, they came back up, but they're kind of struggling right now, but they're still holding their own in the market as it is, so, but it's just a testament to what the market conditions are like right now, so, and it's a heavier lift, for a lot of tokens to go ahead and really move the way they normally would in a different type of market. So, and this one's no exception. The team behind this one, I think, is a good team, safe team, and I say that cautiously, because there aren't a lot of teams out there that I would consider to be safe, but I've seen enough of their launches where I know that if they launch, they're going to go and they're going to put in some effort. They've got connections, so, but even in spite of that, they've got the 500 boost. They spent $4K for that. They're Dexscreener hot pairs. They've made some calls to callers, so it's hanging in there. But what do I think what's going to happen on this? I think, given everything they're already doing, I actually think this will continue to retrace. You might see some pop-ups in terms of some buy pressure, like we get this little candle right here. But I actually think you're going to see some more sells on this. And I'm not sure that they're actually going to get back to this 500K area. Now, they could pull it off just because I know the team behind this, but I think it's going to be a heavy lift to do it. So it's costing teams more and more money to really, really push their tokens, unless you just got a really incredible narrative. Now, the narrative behind this one is that it's some organization that was named a certain name during the Obama era, and then the Trump administration just changed the name to the United States Doge Services. So that's the narrative behind this one. So there's a narrative here. I just don't know that it's enough of a narrative to get back to these all-time high areas on the chart. Excuse me. So and then for Rue, this one, I've been watching this one. I think at one point, and not even at one point. So you can see that obviously they hit a high. Let's move the chart down. Up here. So if this is at 76, essentially you're talking about over 300K. And then you can see the retracement all the way down here to these bottom level areas. They bounce back up, and it's just they've been fighting, so the reason why I'm putting this on your radar is because this has been a token where they haven't really just completely dumped. I mean, other than what happened right here, but they've continued to fight even in spite of the market conditions. And those kind of tokens do get my attention personally. So we're now really in the discovery, portion of the video. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to go ahead and set some filters and then move through some tokens, as far as discovery is concerned. And I do want to apologize, guys, my voice has just kind of been out of whack today. So I apologize, just for all the instances where I'm clearing my throat, but trying to go ahead and get through this video, and I'll try to drink some tea afterwards just to kind of warm my voice, so, because I've been struggling today a bit. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to close this out, and we're going to go, we don't need to do anything on the configuration side because you can already see I've got the configuration here on the main screen the way I want it. I want to see the age, I want to see the time frames, and I want to see the market cap. Okay, so it gives me a much cleaner view and just gives me a view where if I'm looking at something, I can see right away whether there's activity going on, which helps me to make quick decisions in terms of whether I want to open a tab up and explore the token any further. Now, as far as the filters are concerned, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to focus on Solana today, okay? And we're going to go to Radium. Great. All right, so liquidity, we'll leave it the same. Market cap, we're going to go to 50K. Okay, and then for here on the max, let's go to 200K on the max. Okay. And then yesterday we went ahead and we, did some stuff, I was showing you guys, how to go ahead and target, negatives, so if you haven't looked at that video, you can take a look at it. We didn't really find any good stuff, targeting the negatives yesterday, but I really didn't go really in depth, where I wanted to solely focus on really trying to find, some tokens to look at, yesterday in terms of the negatives, just want to go ahead and show you, some information in terms of, how do you target, negatives. So gave you some information there. And remember, this is the reason why I tell you guys, it's important to watch more of the video because you never know when I'm going to talk about additional things you can do with the filters. You never know what additional information I'm going to drop in the video that may be helpful for you in terms of, being able to find the tokens that you really want to find, that really kind of appeal and speak to you, right? So at the end of the day, just make sure that you I know that's really easy to go ahead and just kind of skip around in a YouTube video, but when you do that, because again, I don't just say at the beginning of the video, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about today. You never know when I'm going to mention something that you might find incredibly useful. So, and I've talked about the negatives a couple of times. I can't remember the video where I did it the first time, and I've done too many videos to try to even think for a second to try to scour through to figure out what video that was. But it won't be the last time that I talk about negatives. I just want you to know that I'll talk about this stuff, and I will provide additional information into other things that you can do in terms of the filters. But you just never know when I'm going to do it. And one thing that I find, like I made a comment because I have an Instagram, specifically for investment honey, and so I came across somebody's video and they were talking about Dexscreener, and they were talking about how you can focus on boosts and ads, and that's how that the community supports the token and some nonsense like that. And I commented back basically saying that the boosts and ads have nothing to do with the community support of that particular token. The only thing that you can tell from the boosts and the ads is that the team decided to go ahead and pay the funds to get the boosts done and the ads done. It has nothing to do with community support. So you have to be careful in terms of who you are listening to out there. One of the things I've always said from the very beginning of starting any channel that I have, it's about the information. And I try to be very informational in terms of the content that I provide you guys with. Nothing that I do is about shilling you guys anything. I'm all about trying to make sure that you guys have a more positive experience, and that is going to come through the byproduct of looking at things informationally. So I try to give you the best information I can based on what I know. And what I can tell you is that, we don't ever really talk about, I don't focus on talking about the boosts or the ads, just because I've seen plenty of tokens where you've got massive boosts paid for. And we've seen some where they paid over 10, 15 grand for a boost. And that token looked like it was heading downwards into the lower levels. It didn't look like it was bullish, regardless of how many tens of thousands of dollars they paid for the boost. And the community had nothing to do with that in most of these instances. There are exceptions, where a community member may decide to go ahead and generously pay for a boost, but that's a very rare occasion, So again, keep in mind, when you think about this channel, when you are coming back and you're listening to what I'm talking about day after day, understand, when I'm talking about Dexscreener, I really have looked at a lot of other people talk about this stuff, and nobody is really showing you how to use it, okay? So one of the purposes for me starting this series was I wanted to be somebody that got out there and actually didn't just say, hey, you know what, this is the reason why you're doing it wrong is because you're not using Dexscreener, and if you just go ahead and put in these filters, you're going to go ahead and find the tokens that you really want. No. What we're doing every day is we're putting these filters in, and I'm also giving you additional information, not trying to overwhelm the new people by going into a lot of advanced stuff that you can do with the filters, but obviously throwing some of that information in so that if you're new, you can get some exposure to it, but if you're seasoned, you're also being able to see some additional things you can use. You can do index screener to help you better target the tokens that you want to find, so just keep that in mind. Sorry, it's a bit of a digression, but I felt like that information needed to be put out there because there are people out there telling you some nonsense just to go ahead and get more clicks and views, and they really don't know what they're talking about. So, okay, with that being said, looking here at the pair age, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with brand new. We're gonna go out to 40 hours, and we're going to start with our 10-hour, or not 10%. Not 10 hour, but 10% minimum in the 24-hour change. Okay, so click apply. And so we're going to go ahead and take the 24-hour here column just so we can see greatest gains in the 24-hour window, all the way down to at least 10%. So, and that matches our parameters. Okay. So remember, guys, especially if you're brand new, if you see the box here with the question mark, typically it's going to be a scam. Not always the case, but again, you do see a lot of tokens that do fall within that scam arena, because, and this is usually a real easy way to spot them, is with that box and question mark. Now, have I come across some runners, that have had this going on? Absolutely. But that's not generally the norm, okay? So there are outliers. There are tokens that you can still, make some gains. But again, I typically stay away from these, especially if you're somebody new to this. You want to mess with them. If you're somebody that's been doing this for a while, by all means, be my guest. Okay. or guessed. But for a lot of you new guys, if you're watching, stay away from these. Okay, so, but let's go ahead and start opening some up. Okay, so, and I know it took us a little bit, today to go ahead and get to discovery, but again, there were some other things that we need to talk about. And keep in mind, for the last 2 or 3 days, we really haven't had a lot of review to go over. So today was the exception, where we did have some stuff to talk about. And again, that's going to change from day to day. There'll be days where we have more to talk about, less to talk about. There are days where we have more discovery and less review, and more days we got more review and less discovery. So today's going to be one of those days, more review and less discovery. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's do our scanning real quick. We're going to go and look at the 15 minutes. So this chart, not too crazy about, but we also don't get a telegram on this one, so we're not going to mess with it. Okay, and this one, oh no, I mean, it's not terrible. A lot of spikes, a lot of volatility on this one. We'll go and we'll keep it. We get a telegram here and then pause. This is not the kind of chart you want to see. This is not a healthy looking chart. You can't see any cells on this. Barely any cells on this. This is absolutely going to run. So this is the kind of chart you never want to engage with. If you see this kind of chart, you run. Okay, so we're going to leave this one alone. The next fart coin, and the reason why they say the next fart coin is because there was another fart coin, and that one did amazing numbers. So and typically the way I feel about it is once you have an OG fart coin that takes off, all the derivatives will never do the same. Okay, so when they have banners like this is going to be the next one. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not even going to come close. Okay, it's still going to go ahead and probably, make some gains for people, but it's not going to come close to the OG. Okay, so for this one, the chart looks pretty decent. They got a telegram. We'll keep it. JobSeek AI, they got a telegram. We're going to go to the 15-minute and see what they got going on. Not really a big fan of this chart. I actually think based on where the chart is, it's probably going to go ahead and retrace more, especially since we're not seeing anything going on in the 5-minute. And very little going on in the 1 hour and the 6 hour. So when you're looking at less than 5% in all 3 columns here, and you got 1,000 here, this is simply pertaining to the launch. So it's going to cover this area. The rest of what's going on is reflected right here, which means there's not really much activity. So this is not going to be one we're going to look at. And then here, obviously this one did really well, off the launch, and then it retraced pretty heavily in spite of, some buys popping up, and it's recovered, pretty nicely. They got a telegram, they got a boost going. We'll go and we'll keep this one and take a look at this. Now, this one we talked about, during the review, and so we can still see they got some buys coming in, but again, not near the activity that they had going on in the first place, so. But we'll still go and we'll keep it, and we'll take a look at the telegram just so you can see what's going on there. And then Rue, and this one, like I said, it's been fighting. We'll take a look at the telegram. It's a CTO, just so you're aware of that. And let's see here. Let's open up a few more. We got Fly token, sure. Let's go ahead and Jalen Hurts strategy. So strategy, if you haven't heard, MicroStrategy just changed, just rebranded, to strategy. So that's the reason why you're seeing that token. Let me see what else we got here. Malaysia, and we got Golden Ball. Sure, we'll keep this one. Okay, so let's see what the charts look like. Let's go up to the 5-minute, the 1 minute, maybe. All right, this doesn't look too bad. Not a ton of buy pressure going on. We can see more red and green on the chart, but I'll tell you what, we'll keep it. They got a boost going on this one. This one, definitely not feeling this chart at all. So doesn't really feel like a lot of people are really bullish about this one. Plus, we also don't get a telegram, so that cancels that one for me. And no telegram here, so that cancels that one for me. Okay, let's see if we can find at least a few more before we call it a day. So we're going to go back to our filters, and we're going to go 201 to 500. Okay. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We got an AI agent. Fox AI, sure. Let's see here. This is another USDS. I think this is, so. And typically, I tell you guys, I don't mess with the duplicates, but I know the team behind this one, so that's the reason why that's going to be an exception for why we're keeping it. Joker Doge. All right, that looks interesting. And Dogcoin. I don't know what that is. Rope. Okay, let's take a look at this one. All right, okay, so assuming all these work out in terms of their charts, all right, so I already took a look there. This one, okay. Foxhat AI. So this one here, we don't get a Telegram, so we're not going to keep this one. Gotta make sure we had a Telegram there. Yep, we did. Okay, and then this is CatDog. Okay, so we get a Telegram on this one. Chart looks okay. We're going to keep it. So, all right, I think we're good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start checking out some channels, see what's going on. Okay, and so right away we can see that we've got some good activity here on the raid. They completed this raid. They were looking for 10 bookmarks, 12 replies, 14 retweets, and 19 likes. They got every bit of that. And then we see they got a pretty good VC going, over 20 members. That's good to see. Let's see here. I like what the buy bot, looks like right here. This looks really, really good. No trending that I can see. Okay, and obviously the raid's not active because they just completed that. Okay, so, and then want to see when the last buy on this one was, and that was 215. So I got 217 on my clock, so that works well within my 10-minute buy window. Okay, so chat is temporarily closed. Okay, all right. So they said they're going to be back. So even if I were to join, I'm guessing that this is going to say they closed, but I'm guessing that since they're closed, they open the VC to make sure that they can still go ahead and access the group, which is a good move. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and come on back out here. And then as far as this is concerned, we can see that there's further retracement on this, so I'm inclined, basically looking at the chart, to think that this is probably going to retrace even further. And, like I mentioned, when we go and we set these alerts on charts, where I think there's going to be more retracement, it's not like I'm coming back every day telling you guys, hey, we're going to open this chart back up to go ahead and let you guys know. But hey, we set the one for the under alert, and yes, it did indeed, go under. A lot of times I'm just focusing on, the charts that do make some, moves on the upside, but I do want to let you know that, hey, based on, what I'm showing you and just kind of thinking through how I tend to see things, and the lens which I'm looking through when I'm looking at the chart, it's also to help you kind of, put that information into application yourself, to be able to look at a chart and kind of get used to knowing what looks healthy, what doesn't look healthy, and what looks like it may be heading downward, what looks like it may be heading upward, but also knowing that we put those alerts in place because the alerts, are the indicators, and they're going to be able to tell us, more definitively, obviously, what's going on with the chart, right? So we can see this pretty big, sell that came in. I said that it was going to go down. It's likely going to continue to retrace, especially when you see sells like this coming in that are greater than the buys that are coming in, right? So if we're seeing $1,000, $2,000 sales coming in, we also want to be seeing buys that are equivalent to that or greater, right? So that we're not looking at charts where you're seeing more red on it than green, okay? But with that being said, where are we at right now? So this is saying 176, and this is saying 156 in the tab, so we're going to go ahead and set, we'll set 2 of them on this one. On the over, I'm going to set this at 170K. Okay, and I think it said 156, okay, in the tab. So, and then on the under, okay, let's see, 156K. And we're going to set the under at 100K. I think it's actually going to retrace further than that. Let's see, let's do 90K. Okay, so there we go. And then we're going over here to the BTC AI agent. We're going to check out the channel, see what they got going on. Do we get a portal at all? No. So this is another one where as soon as you access the Telegram, you're not getting a verification portal. You're just coming straight into the group. Okay. So right away, we don't see any evidence of any kind of raid. It's 220. So let's see. Okay, the last buy just came in. All right. So good to see. And so no evidence of any kind of trending going on either. Okay, so I'm still scrolling, not really seeing anything. Okay, so what do you got going on here in the pinned messages? And always be sure to check out what kind of communication they got going on in the pinned messages. Is always a good sign, in my personal opinion, to see that a community, that a team is communicating with their community, through the pinned messages. It doesn't make any sense to me when you got pinned messages that you can use as a team and you never make use of them. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. You want to engage with the community, and you want the community to know that you are a team that values communication. I tend to always see that as a valuable metric in terms of assessing a token in a Telegram, when I enter one. Okay, so all right. I saw something from CNC. Okay, you can track this token on crypto.com. Okay, so looks like they are doing some good things. Obviously that's represented here in the chart. They got a boost going on. They paid $4 grand for that chart. They're on hot pairs, as well. So we do have some minuses here, but the minuses aren't terrible. So for this one though, I'd be interested in setting an under as opposed to an up alert, because I do think this one will still retrace a bit more, in my personal opinion. But obviously if you're following the same token, then you can go ahead and set your own alert. For anybody that's brand new, make sure that, because I don't put the contract addresses, in the description, the video. I don't ever do that, but what I do tell people that they can do is they can go ahead and copy this right here, BTC AI agents. Okay, just go ahead and go on over, to your search box. You would go ahead and paste that in. Okay, and then you just want to match up, your 1 hour and 24 hour. So the 1 hour minus 12.6, the 24 hour or 546, and so you can see that's going to be this one. And then you'd open that up, and then that's how you go ahead and match and find the same coin that I'm talking about here in the video. Okay, so I don't mention that in every video, but I think that, a lot of people eventually can figure it out, but sometimes I want to be explicit about mentioning that's what you do so that you can go ahead and also set these same alerts and you can follow the same tokens that I'm also talking about here on the channel during this series. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go to the alerts here, and we're going to market cap. And if you're brand new and I'm talking really quickly, I mentioned it on several videos, some videos I talk faster than others. Yesterday, I had a late night, so yesterday I definitely recognized I talked slower in that video. This one I can recognize I'm talking faster. But you have the benefit of the video, so always feel free to go back and review it as much as you need to be able to follow along with what I'm telling you. So we got 204, on this one, at least over here. I don't know that that's accurate. And this is saying, okay, so, and obviously there are going to be times where it doesn't match up, so we can see that this says like, some 4895. That doesn't match up, with 204. It just matches up with what's the prices over here. So but we're going to go with 203. This is always delayed, always, never fails in Dexscreener. But that's what we're going to run with. Okay, so going here, going to market cap, and oops, 203K. So there we go. And then on the over, we're going to go to 220 on this one. Okay, and then on the under, okay, we're going to go to 180. All right, so I think that's 180K. All right, so there we go. We're going to close this one out. We're going to move on to the next. And so Joker Doge doesn't look too bad. They got ads and they've got a boost going. So we're going to go ahead and check out the channel, see what they got going on. We do finally get a verification portal. So, all right. With that being said, what are we seeing? We got live trending going on. So this is through Major Buy Bot, which is good, which means, they probably got votes from the community to be able to go ahead and get that, because you can get that for free, is my understanding, through Major Buy Bot. So I think it's good to engage the community to be able to go ahead and take advantage of getting live trending through Major Buy Bot, because that gets you additional exposure, and we obviously want to see that. So this gives me some indicator that they were trying to get a raid going, through D-Raid, but I don't actually see an active raid going, just the buys. We also see they've got trending here. Don't know if it's still active, so we're going to go ahead and check out the leaderboard. So we're looking for Joker Doge. They should be number 12. And we're going to go to the pin message where we should be able to see the leaderboard. And for some reason, it's not working for me. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and have to skip that. But either way, all right, how do I get back? Joker Doge, come on. Oh, general. I have to go to general. Okay, so either way, with that being said, I don't know if they're currently, and now we can see the raids going, if they're currently on that leaderboard, but from a place of optics, look, it's good to see that they may have had at one point double trending going, so okay, so they got a raid started. It's not very big, so we'll see if the community can go ahead and complete that. So we're going to head on out of here. The chart looks really, really good as far as I'm concerned, and not a ton of buy pressure, but again, what that tells me is that you don't have people that are looking to go and just simply dump their tokens, so that's actually pretty good. You got responsible selling going on, right? Unless, now somebody decides to go ahead and dump a bunch of tokens, but let's hope that's not the case. All right, so either way, let's see what the tab says here. We're looking at 204K. We're going to go ahead and set an under alert because where the candle is doesn't make any sense to set an over. So 204, and we're going to go ahead and put this down to 170K. I think there's a possibility that could retrace. And normally, so this did trigger, but I've said before, When I do these videos, you're not going to see that little trigger that should be right here in this bottom right hand area. But I see them on my phone. I can see the triggers being alerted on my phone. And the reason why this one triggered was because I was supposed to set it for an under and not an over. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to set it for the under, and then it'll say active again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. And looking here at Cat Dog. Cat Dog was a meme, that was launched probably over a year ago, and it did massively well. So do I think this one, could do well? I don't know. I mean, because I tend to think that, when you try to go and repeat, something where the OG did really well, the derivatives, the second hands typically don't do as well. So that's just my thought there. But it is a good meme. Let me see here. So what we want to do, let's go and let's check out the channel real quick and see what they got going on. Okay, and okay, so this is all you got, as far as a portal or Telegram channel is concerned. So with that being said, this immediately tells me that, even though the chart doesn't look too bad, this is going to come down. It is. I mean, there's no way to go and engage with any community members or the team. You have literally a couple of, pictures, in the supposed, Telegram. So for this one, I would say we're not going to worry about this one because this one's going to come down. Okay, so for this one here, WAGME, we're all going to make it. Oh, and by the way, a good point to make about the last token on Cat Dog. This is the reason why you take a minute and you check out the Telegram, because again, you might see this link, but that doesn't actually mean that there's actually a real Telegram community. So, and if you don't go ahead and investigate it, guess what? You're just making that assumption, and you're wondering why let's say you go and you buy in, maybe $100 or $200 buy, and then the token either rugs or just continues to go down, and you're wondering like, what in the world's going on? And then all of a sudden, after you made your buy, you decide to go ahead and check out the Telegram just to find out nobody's in there. And then what do? You try to go ahead and sell before you have lost your whole investment. But it's a risk that you're taking, but that somebody hasn't already gone ahead and decided to rug the project or token after you decide to buy in, simply because you didn't take a minute to basically just investigate the Telegram. So always take a minute to investigate that Telegram so that you don't find yourself in a situation that was completely avoidable. Okay, so checking out the Telegram on this one. I'm not really a fan of that chart, because that chart to me does not look healthy. It doesn't look normal. So at least not with all the spikes that I'm seeing on that chart. So all right, so just over 570 members here. We got live trending on this one. Okay. They got a raid going, so the raid is getting some activity. Not a big raid. We're looking for 2 bookmarks, 5 replies, 5 retweets, and 15 likes. Okay, so we're going to head back down here. And it looks like they got trending here. So WAGME is what we're looking for. Yep, so they are on the leaderboard, as far as that's concerned. So, and would that be, that's double trending. So they got double trending. And if you're new and you haven't heard, the phrase double trending, so for greater exposure, there are teams that'll go ahead and make sure that they get trending in more than one place. Sometimes you can see some tokens get trending in 3 different places or 4, just to try to continue to get their token as much exposure as possible. So you don't always see that, and that doesn't always mean that means that that's a token that's going to do incredibly well, because I've seen tokens that go ahead and get 3 or 4 different, get trending in various places, and they still don't do well, so it just depends on the token, depends on a number of different things associated with that token, anything from community engagement to the narrative sentiment behind the token. Has a team, really had a lot of successful projects in the past where you can basically just bank on it, it's going to do well. I mean, there's a lot of things. The market obviously affects that. So a lot of things to go ahead and consider, as far as, projecting what you think a token may go ahead and do. Are there any campaigns on any other social media platforms? When you think about Chill Guy actually kind of sat at bottom levels, for a little while before it actually took off. But there was so much going on TikTok that really helped to be a major catalyst to move that token, on top of, other communities, that were quote unquote based, that, said that, hey, this is going to move, so yeah, a lot of different things that go ahead and work into how and why a token moves. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to jump out of this one. I don't really need to see a whole lot else on this, so obviously the token's still moving, and these spikes that I'm talking about, it's just highlighting a lot of volatility. And some of it can also be MEV bots too. Not going to go into MEVs, but basically they can shoot the price up and then, sandwich somebody else's buy and then come back down, when they sell. So, but either way, they got a lot of different catalysts, going for this, and we didn't even talk about the boost, here, on top of all the trending they've got going on, as well. So for right now, I mean, it looks like it's pretty good. We're sitting at essentially around a 90K market cap. So I'm going to set two, alerts on this one. Okay. And this is sitting at 90. So we're going to make it 90K on the market cap. All right. We're going to go ahead and set the market cap, and then, or from market cap for the over, we're going to go ahead and go to 110. No, I think we're going to go to 115 on this one. So 115, and then on the under, and yes, even though there's a ton of activity going on, I still think this could go and slip down to 45K. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but again, you also have to think that, when these catalysts they have in place are done. So boost lasts 24 hours. All right. It's trending. You can buy certain windows for trending. It can be for a few hours. It can be for, half a day. It can be, for longer. When those catalysts are gone, what happens to your token? It typically, the sells tend to increase. And then when it gets quiet in the chat, that's kind of where you determine or figure out, what kind of resilience does your community and token have. Okay. So for sometimes, when I'm looking around, I don't want to mess around with anything that's brand new. Sometimes I want to see a token that's been alive for at least 15 hours to go ahead and see that, hey, it's quiet in here, but hey, they haven't really dumped the token, so sometimes that can be a good indicator, that maybe this might have some staying power, so, and again, that's just one of those things when I mention how it may be helpful for you guys to go and pay attention to more of the video, because I mention stuff like that in the context of what I'm talking about that isn't necessarily planned, but it's just in the course of what I'm discussing in regards to a token and what I may see that may prompt me to go ahead and say what I'm saying that you might actually find useful. Okay, so you can also see that there's evidence of a volume bot here as well. Okay, which is why you're seeing all this movement, here in the buy transaction area. All right, so I'm going to, I think I already set 2 alerts on this one. So, yep, okay. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. And we're looking at Sharkcoin. All right, so hold on 1 minute. I want to see where we're at in terms of time, because I don't want to go over an hour on this one. Okay, guys, so we're just over 50 minutes on this, so I'm going to go ahead and try to talk about these kind of quickly, so that, I can keep this thing under an hour. Okay, so with Sharkcoin, this is supposed to be the new, Fartcoin. We're going to take a look at the Telegram, see what we got going on here, and we do have a portal, I believe. No, this is trending portal. That's not a verification portal. Okay, so we're looking. Okay, do we get any verification portal? Or maybe this is the actual chat. No, it's not. Okay, so right away, my thought would be they need to go ahead and put a link up here, because a lot of people are not going to go ahead and keep scrolling to go ahead and get to this portal. Okay, so, all right, let's go ahead and let's see what's going on here. Click here. Let's get in there. Okay, so we got just over 600 members, here in the channel, and we can see right away we're getting some buys. Okay, this is good to see. All right, so messages are not allowed, so it's a closed chat. Is there a reason why that is? Because I don't see any evidence of a raid or why they would go ahead and close the chat on people. That doesn't make any sense to me right now. So, okay, so I don't see any kind of trending, and I don't see the reason why they closed the chat. Okay, so this is forwarded, from another channel in regards to this particular token. They're on 4chan. Okay, so they had trending, because I can see number 5 here. Let's see if they're still on the leaderboard. That would be number 5. So the next Fart coin, and so yeah, this is Fart Club, and that's not the same. Okay, so yeah, so they're not currently actively on that leaderboard. Okay, so alrighty. Okay, they got some stuff going on here, in terms of, yeah, so they've had some trending going on, but it's not active anymore. So they got a boost going on, they've got ads going on. I think what you're going to see at this point, you're probably going to see further retracement on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and set an alert on this one. This is sitting at 43K according to the tab. So we're going to go to market cap, and I'm going to set an under on this one, and I'm going to say we found this at 43K. That under is going to be sitting at 30K. I think if it touches 30K, it's probably toast in the water. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set that. We're going to close it out. And then here we're looking at BTC AI. Let's take a look, here at their community, see what's going on. I don't remember if we looked at this one earlier or not. I can't remember, guys, so if we covered this one already, my bad. But we're going to cover it anyway. And I'm not seeing it open, here in the channels, so, but if this is one where they never opened up, yeah, I think we already looked at this one, because I can see where the cursor's at. It's not at the bottom. So, all right, so we can close this one out. So I'm not going to go ahead and mess with this. Okay, so here we go. And it already shows that we had an alert, set. So yeah, this is when I opened twice. Sorry about that. Okay, so in USDS, let's see here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Telegram real quick. And you can see on the chart, we can see that it is starting to head back up, slowly, but it's heading back up. Okay, but, as I like to tell you guys, whenever you see stuff like that, it could be that, hey, it's a little bit of a pop-up, and then you got somebody that's just kind of tired of waiting, for the buys to continue, and then in any time, any moment, this could just go ahead and be hit with sell pressure that could bring this back down. So I don't know. Like I said, to me, this is like a little pop-up right now. And it's 50-50 whether this continues to go up or comes back down. So we're going to go over to the Telegram. And then you can see they've got a small raid going on here. Okay. And that's also pinned, which is a good move to go ahead and pin the raids. Okay. Last buy here, we can see at 236, but you don't have really big buys coming in. At least doesn't really seem like it, So let's see, because we didn't see any big candles, on the chart. Okay. So another raid here. All right, and I don't know that I saw any trending. Did you guys? So let's see here. I don't see any trending. So no trending. Okay. This is forwarded from CN token. Okay, and this just got chilled. Apparently, an article from Gate.io. All right, so they're talking about their next stage of marketing is lined up. All right, so, they've got some stuff going on here in the pinned messages, which is always good to see. Okay, and what did I tell you guys? I said that this could be a pop-up, and that's exactly what happened, so you can see we had the buys go ahead and pop up, and sometimes when people are kind of like late to the party, they think that, hey, oh my gosh, buys are starting to come back to the chart. I need to go ahead and jump in, and this is the reason why I tell you guys, get away from emotional trading. You have to understand, when you see enough charts, you're going to see stuff like this pop up. And I try to go ahead and tell you, I'm not going to gatekeep from you guys, okay? When I see this kind of stuff, to me, I think it's a possibility that it's a pop-up, especially when you see the pattern here, that it's been a lot of sell pressure. Anytime you've seen the buys, you see these sellers returning, so we can see right here, now it's 50-50, that when people go ahead and see this, they could be thinking, man, there's more sales going to go ahead and come to this chart. We're already in the minus 17 area here in the 5 minute and the 1 hour. So to me, I think there's a good possibility that this is going to continue to come down a bit more before the possibility of it actually going back up. Because again, people don't want to see this kind of just hanging here the way that is right now. So I'm going to set 2 alerts on this one. I think, let's see here. So where are we at? This is saying 284. This is saying 275. So we're going to go ahead and set this at 275 on the alert. Okay, so 275 is going to be where we set that there, and then it goes under. Oops, I need to go ahead and go to market cap here. So on the under, let's say 230 on the under. Okay. Oh goodness, that's another one. So I got to go ahead and put this on the under. Okay, so on the under is 230, and then on the over. Let's go ahead and let's put this at 320, okay? All right, so we're going to create that alert. All right, so we'll see. And where are we at? And this right now, what you're seeing here, all these buys and sells, it's a volume bot, but the volume bot isn't, buying and selling in pennies like we usually see. They're buying and sells in clips of basically around 20 bucks, okay? Which that tells you, the teams, obviously got some money, right? So we're going to go ahead and close this one out, and then we're going to head over here to the last one, which is Rue. And like I said, this one continues to fight, in my personal opinion, based on what I've seen on the chart. Okay. So obviously, like I told you, for our CTO, so you can see CTO indicated there. Okay. And here we are. So what was the last buy on this? Last buy was 237. That was about 4 minutes ago. Okay. They got a raid going. Raid looking for 4 bookmarks, 8 replies, 11 retweets, and 18 likes, so pretty decent, in terms of what they're looking for in the raid. And 500 members, they should be able to go ahead and complete this, but there is some activity, but they need more activity, obviously, right? So, and let's see here, no sign of trending. The other thing that I get concerned about, with CTOs is, do you actually have the funds to push the token? And a lot of CTOs don't. They're looking to the community, to go ahead and get funds to continue to move the token, to continue to get it, help get more exposure. So, and if you don't have funds, obviously your token is going to be essentially dead in the water, because you need, the reality is, especially in this this market, in this season of crypto, you need funds and you need a lot of funds to really go ahead and be able to push your tokens. So they're getting a shill, from virus calls, this community to their community in regards to this token. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and head back on out here. And so I'm going to go ahead and set a couple of alerts on this one. We got 77K. So we're going to go straight to market cap and 77K. We're going to copy that. And then on the over, let's go ahead and let's set this at 90K. All right. And then on the under, we're going to go ahead and set this at 50K. All right. So, okay, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it in regards to today's content. We talked a lot, in terms of the initial stages, the review portion. You got a bunch of tokens, in terms of the discovery. But as always, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. As many options as there are, across the YouTube landscape, you guys do choose to continue to go ahead and check out Investment Honey and look at what's going on here, and I appreciate that. If you're getting any value out of the channel and the series, as always, make sure you go and share this with anybody that you know that's looking to either get into crypto, is curious about it. If you feel like this is a channel that you can trust, to provide some information that is deemed essentially helpful, make sure that you go ahead and share this. That's how we grow on the platform, and that's how we get this information out to more people beyond the current audiences listening to it now. So thanks so much for watching, and appreciate you guys as always. Stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next video.